President Trump just announced a massive breakthrough that could end the war in Ukraine. And it happened in the Oval Office today. India's Prime Minister Modi gave America a promise that changes everything. What does this mean for you, for gas prices, and for global security? I'll break it down in the next 60 seconds. We're witnessing history unfold right now. On October 15th, President Trump revealed something huge from the White House. Prime Minister Narendra Modi personally assured him that India will stop buying Russian oil. Let me say that again. India, one of Russia's biggest oil customers, is cutting the cord. This is massive for America. Why should you care about this? Because this deal could be the key that unlocks peace in Ukraine and shifts the entire global energy landscape. Think about it. India buys over 1.6 million barrels of Russian oil every single day. That's 1/3 of their total oil imports. And every dollar they spend puts cash directly into Putin's war machine. Trump has been playing hardball on this issue for months. Back in August, he slapped a 25% tariff on India, specifically because they kept buying Russian crude. Then he added another 25% tariff. He wasn't messing around. And today? Today we're seeing results. Here's what Trump said from the Oval Office, and I quote, "I was not happy that India was buying oil, and he assured me today that they will not be buying oil from Russia. That's a big step. But it gets even better. Trump made it crystal clear this isn't just about India. He said, now we've got to get China to do the same thing. He's going after China next. That's the Trump strategy. Bilateral pressure, one ally at a time, squeezing Russia's economy until Putin has no choice but to negotiate. Think about the numbers for a second. Russia has lost, according to Trump's statement, 1.5 million people in this war. That's a catastrophic human cost. And how has Russia kept going? Oil money, specifically money from countries like India and China, who kept buying their discounted crude while Europe cut them off. India and China together, they're the top two buyers of Russian seaborne oil exports. They've been taking advantage of those discount prices ever since Europe stopped buying, and the US and EU slapped sanctions on Moscow back in February 2022. Russia had to sell cheap to survive, and countries like India said, hey, we need energy for our 1.4 billion people. But Trump didn't accept that excuse. He saw it for what it was, funding the enemy. And he used the one tool that gets results, American economic leverage. So what happened in that conversation between Trump and Modi? We don't have a full transcript, but we know Trump was direct. He told Modi straight up, America is not happy. You're helping Russia continue a ridiculous war. And Modi listened. Now, Trump was honest with reporters. He said India can't flip the switch overnight. He called it a little bit of a process, but said that process will be over soon. Translation: there are existing contracts, logistics, infrastructure. You can't just stop 1.6 million barrels per day immediately, but the commitment is there. And here's where it gets interesting. The Indian embassy in Washington hasn't confirmed this yet. They haven't responded to media requests for comment. Does that concern you? Should we be skeptical until we hear from New Delhi officially? Here's my take. Trump has zero reason to lie about this. He made the announcement publicly in the Oval Office with cameras rolling. If Modi didn't make this commitment, Trump would look terrible when India contradicts him. Trump's betting his credibility that Modi gave him his word. And Trump even said, Modi's a great man, and he loves Trump. That's not the language of uncertainty. That's confidence. But let's steelman the other side for a moment. Some people will say, India needs that oil for their economy. They're the third biggest oil consumer on Earth. They're going to surpass China by 2030. Where are they supposed to get their energy? Fair question. Here's the answer. From America and our allies. India will pay more. Yes. Russian oil was cheap because Russia was desperate. But benchmark Brent crude just hit a 5-month low this week. The global oil market has a surplus right now. There's supply available. India won't freeze in the dark. They'll just buy from non-Russian sources. And guess what? That's better for America. Because when India buys from the US, Canada, the Middle East, or other partners, that money doesn't fund Putin's war. It goes to our allies or into American pockets. Now, let's talk about what this means for America in 3 key areas. First, national security. This deal weakens Russia's ability to sustain the war in Ukraine. Trump said it himself. If India doesn't buy oil, it makes it much easier. Easier to end the war. Easier to bring Putin to the negotiating table. Russia's economy runs on oil exports. Cut the customers, and you cut Putin's lifeline. That means American taxpayers might finally stop sending billions to Ukraine, and our troops don't get pulled into a European conflict. Second, economic leverage. Trump just proved that bilateral pressure works better than endless multilateral sanctions. He didn't wait for the UN or NATO or some global coalition. He went directly to Modi, used tariffs as leverage, and got the result he wanted. That's a blueprint for dealing with China next. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent just suggested this week that the administration may hit China with increased tariffs if Europeans do the same. The strategy is clear. Economic isolation works. Third, global energy markets. If India stops buying Russian oil, and if Trump can get China to follow, Russia loses its 2 biggest customers. That reshapes the entire global oil trade. Russia will be forced to either slash production or sell at even deeper discounts to smaller buyers. Either way, Putin's revenue collapses. And if oil prices stay low because of the current surplus, American consumers benefit at the pump. Let me ask you directly, do you think Modi will actually follow through? Comment yes or no below, and tell me why. Because this is where the rubber meets the road. India has resisted U.S. pressure for months. Indian officials have said buying Russian oil is vital to their national energy security. So what changed? Here's what changed. Trump's appointment of Sergio Gore as the new U.S. ambassador to India. Gore is a close confidant of Trump. He met with Modi just days ago. They discussed defense, trade, and technology. Sending Gore was a signal. Trump values the U.S.-India relationship, but he's serious about this oil issue. And Modi responded. There's also a potential summit coming up. Trump and Modi might meet at a gathering of Southeast Asian countries in Malaysia later this month. Modi knows he needs to keep that relationship strong. India relies on U.S. defense technology, trade access, and diplomatic support. Losing that over Russian oil? Not worth it. But here's the twist that nobody's talking about. Trump said India can go back to buying Russian oil after the war is over. Did you catch that? He told reporters, they'll go back to Russia after the war is over. That's not a permanent ban. That's a temporary strategic move to end the war. So Trump's not trying to destroy India's energy security long term. He's saying, help us end this war, then you can resume normal trade. That's smart diplomacy. It gives Modi a face-saving way to cooperate without looking like he's abandoning India's interests forever. Now, if you're finding this breakdown valuable, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. We're covering the stories that actually matter to your life, your wallet, and America's future. Let's talk about what happens in the next 48 hours. Here's your checklist of what to watch. 1. Does the Indian government officially confirm this? If Modi's office or the Foreign Ministry puts out a statement, that locks it in. If they stay silent, that's a story too. 2. What does Russia say? Putin's not going to be happy. Watch for statements from Moscow. Do they downplay this? Do they threaten India? Do they pivot to China even harder? 3. China's response. Trump said he's going after China next. Does Beijing make a preemptive move? Do they signal willingness to cooperate, or do they dig in? 4. European reaction. If the U.S. is successfully isolating Russia economically, do European leaders feel pressure to step up their own sanctions? Or do they worry about Trump taking all the credit for ending the war? 5. Market movements. Watch oil prices and the Indian rupee. If markets believe India's serious about this, you'll see shifts in commodity trading and currency values. Now, here's the bigger picture you need to understand. This isn't just about one oil deal. Trump is rebuilding American influence through economic power. He's showing allies and adversaries that America sets the terms. Work with us, benefit. Work against us, pay the price. Some critics will say Trump's approach is too aggressive, too transactional. They'll say, you can't treat allies like India the same way you treat enemies. They'll argue that tariffs damage relationships and that diplomacy requires nuance. But here's the pro-America response. Nuance doesn't end wars. Pressure does. Europe tried the diplomatic approach for years with Russia. How'd that work out? They got a full-scale invasion. Trump's approach is different. He uses America's economic strength as a weapon for peace. And today, it's working. We're watching Russia lose its financial oxygen. India was sending Moscow billions of dollars every year. That money bought weapons, paid soldiers, kept the war machine running. Now that pipeline is shutting off. And if China follows, which is a massive if, Russia's isolated. Putin thought he could outlast the West. He thought Western attention spans were too short, that democracies would get tired of funding Ukraine. But Trump just flipped the script. Instead of sending more American money to Ukraine, he's cutting off Russian money at the source. That's what winning looks like in modern geopolitical competition. It's not about armies and invasions. It's about trade flows, energy markets, and economic leverage. Trump understands this. He's a businessman who thinks in terms of deals and pressure points. And here's what scares America's enemies. If Trump can get India to stop buying Russian oil, what else can he get them to do? What can he get China to do? What can he pressure Europe to do? The message to the world is clear. American economic power is back, and we're not afraid to use it. So let me leave you with this final question, and I want you to really think about it. If Trump succeeds in isolating Russia economically and the war in Ukraine ends, does that prove his America First strategy works better than traditional diplomacy? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear both sides of this debate. This is Politics Tribune, where we give you the truth about what's happening in America and why it matters to you. If you want to stay ahead of the biggest stories, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. And share this video with everyone who needs to understand what Trump just accomplished. This is a turning point, and we're covering it in real time.
If you enjoyed the video, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos.